There's so much alive in this community, in these networks of people that are striving to make the world better in all kinds of different ways. And my goal for Holos is to make the technology get out of the way of the connection and the connectivity that's wanting to happen in that field, to just be a conduit for finding the others, and being together, sitting together in presence, and then like really building awesome stuff together, playgrounds and temples and spaces to see brighter futures.
Welcome to the Holo Movement, Awaken Your Purpose podcast, where we interview incredible people that are living and breathing their purpose, and you can too. If you would like to support this programming, drop us a like or leave us a review. Now let's dive in. Hi, everybody. My name is Zenka Caro, and I'm founder of LightNet. And today on the Holo Movement Purpose Lab, we have none other than James Bolden. Now, James Bolden is part of Iris Cocreative. They are the co-creator of the new Holos, which is where we've come together, where the future lives, where we come to collaborate. And welcome, James.
Thank you. So glad to be here. Long-time listener, first time.
I know between us seeing each other at the Wave in Portugal was your honeymoon, right?
That's right. That's right. Just got back. So still learning how to be on a screen again and do things, but happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you took that big vacation of your career, and that's so cool. And you rented a motorcycle. Oh my, bye.
Yeah, cruising around, hiking through volcanoes, beautiful lakes, and really yummy food, and beach time, quality time with my beloved. Can't wait to do it again.
So awesome. So awesome. Well, I am such a big fan of yours. You know, you have been working with a lot of different companies that I love and admire. Purpose Earth, Holo Movement, to bring their websites off the main screen. Like, you're really designing past what we're used to with, like, oh, put it in a box over here. You're like, oh, wait a minute, except if it has to be in a map or in a circle or in a like animation. And besides just looking beautiful and being geometrically different as a web designer and a web programmer and engineer, is that you really are seeing things differently, and you're bringing people together in new ways to see themselves in new ways. And one of the tools that you've built is this incredible matchmaking system in the Holos app, where you can see where your energy is on a triangle. Can you tell us about that real quick before we started?
Yeah, so we identified different domains of values and different criteria for folks to locate themselves on a spectrum. Well, spectrum felt too limiting, so we came up with a triangle. And I'm not remembering the particular domains, but you can essentially answer some simple questions and then locate yourself within these 9 domains, between either visionary or grounded or more integrative. And the idea is that there's no wrong answers. You know, some people are more grounded and practical, and that's great. Some people are more visionary and out there, and that's great. Some people are able to hold both perspectives, and that's great. And we just want a diversity of views and perspectives, but we also want to be able to connect and match with folks that that align with how we see the world, and connect with folks that see it differently. But we also ask practically about needs and offers and skills and things like that. And we use that to map people in a whole field. And then you can generate these connection profiles. And it's just the beginning. There's all sorts of fun stuff in the works around that.
Yeah, so once you fill out your Holos profile, then you get matched with how many people? 3 to 5?
Right now, everybody who has filled out their full profile. So we've got 300 members. I'm not sure how many of them have done the full profile, but you can see all of them in a big field, and it'll show you the folks that are closest to you geographically and values wise, and also the folks that are further away. And so eventually we will have more specific matching processes for different purposes if you're trying to find a team or find collaborators or things like that. But for now, you can see the whole field. And then on any person, you can generate a more in-depth profile to see where you align more specifically. And it even generates conversation starters for you and that person. And you can message them with that conversation query and see where it takes you.
That's really cool. And you and I got matched. I love your matchmaking algorithm as that rolls out, and I beta tested and the team beta tested it because that's really fun. It's been really fun to see who we match with. And you're doing something so different because you're a philosopher and a thought leader in and of itself, in addition to running Iris Cocreative, which is this relational understanding of the space in between. Can you unpack why you named your company the way that you named it?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was an intuitive decision, Iris. I wanted a metaphor. I love metaphors. And then as I unpacked it, I realized pretty quickly it's an acronym for intuitive, relational, and intersubjective. Intersubjective means the subjective experience of two or more people, essentially the we space dimension, the us, the R, the collective, the community, the group. And I've been very lucky my whole career, the last 15, 16 years, to work with individuals and organizations that innovate in that domain beyond the space of the individual. And it's where my passion definitely lies in playing in that space, because I don't think that we are simply confined to our individual bodies. I think that's just part of the human experience, and that there's actually much richer things happening, and things like, innovation and change and creativity happen in the space of dialogue, in the space of relationship, in the space of group synergetics. And so there's so much there, and we love to play in that space. We love to work that way as well with our relational clients. It's very collaborative and co-creative, and to me that means like leaning in without preconceptions into this space between us and seeing what wants to emerge, not just trying to have my idea or get to know your idea and design it, but see really what's here and how can we make it more tangible.
That's beautiful. We just interviewed Dan Spinner about this whole idea of creature theory. So once something is born, like the holo moment, you can actually ask it what it wants to become because it's already a thing, because it's a life of its own. Yeah, so no wonder you found holo movement, because they're also looking at that we perspective and the space between us. I've never heard someone say, so that's really beautiful. And you've worked with so many beautiful contacts, because like you said, it's not like so much what you do, is who you do it with, and who you've got very limited time and you're so talented. I'm glad you've gotten to be choosy about who you've been working with. Who have you loved working with over the years?
Oh my God, so many people. I mean, I started my career at a magazine that doesn't exist anymore called Enlighten Next Magazine. And I feel privileged to have started there while I was still in college in an internship. And through them, I got exposed to so many wonderful people that were a part of that organization and then have gone on to do really wonderful things, like Thomas Steininger and Elizabeth de Bold founding Evolve World in Germany. And I'm still working with them and love everything that they do. And we're now building this Interbeing Monastery, which is a really awesome platform. And Jeff Carrera and Amy Edelstein. It's been a pleasure to work with them in a number of ways over the years, and other organizations like Institute of Noetic Sciences and Thomas Hubel.
My favorite.
And I mean, so many people, ecstatic dance, movement things, authentic relation training, all kinds of things. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're so lucky to have your genius, and us especially as well on the Courage to Begin the Whole Moment Purpose Lab. And I ask you today, James, what is your purpose in this life?
Yeah, what is my? I suspected you would ask me something like that, and I it's hard to generate a finite answer on that because I feel like it is a verb and it's evolving in me constantly. I feel really lucky to be full of purpose, and I feel like it's something that's an energy and that it's bigger than me. And so the words I have for it are just words, because it feels like there's something that I'm doing here that I get to be a part of, that's beyond my own conception. But to me, it feels like um, helping as many people on this planet become liberated. Liberation to me means finding freedom from limiting narratives, from inertia, from identity, and finding access to love, cosmic love, and love of the planet, and life, and beauty, and creativity. And I think we're all on that path in one way or another, and it's endless. And I want whatever I do on this planet to be in service to that liberation as much as possible. And I just want to be available to the things that are bigger than me, to be used by them to those ends.
That's beautiful. It's just like Dr. Hart of the Biocybernaut. He always says together we're bigger, we're bigger and better together, basically. Together we're better.
Yeah,
You
I've
know,
worked with him too. I made a beautiful Taurus for him. We made his brand.
Oh, that's right. I did see you. Yeah, because I was really impressed with your client list. I was like, oh, cool. I was very sorry about. Yeah, so it's really amazing to have you, James, here. And um, we know you now in as your work as a web designer, but what else is really alive in your life in terms of your leadership, in terms of the way you think? We've talked about already this idea of like wanting to be in the unknown, like being comfortable taking two ideas and figuring out what happens in the we. And that's so beautiful. What else is really stirs you in these days?
Well, to go real deep, real fast, what comes to mind for me is actually death. I feel like what's most alive in me is death, ironically, and everything that comes with that, embracing it fully, being in the unknown of that. Not that I know what it is or what it means, but we're all on a train in that direction, and it's an integral part of life. And I believe that time isn't what we think it is. We experience it linearly in this one dimension, but I think simultaneously we're experiencing it in other ways, and we can create from a deep place of life and also from a deep embrace of death. And I think that's a good way to be here. It invokes a lot of presence and authenticity, and gets the ego out of the way. Because if there's anything that doesn't survive death, it's probably ego.
I'm s- I my brain is breaking because I just figured out you don't die like 5 years ago. I'm like,
What does that mean to you?
well, that you don't die. I mean, you may say goodbye to this version of yourself in this fiction, but it's not like you die because we're bigger than this one life. Like, I didn't believe in reincarnation. I didn't believe in dimensions. I didn't believe in anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely
But I
not
was like, you
the
guys
end.
are hilarious because you want this eternal life, but you actually have it because you can't die.
Yeah, things definitely die, and it's good that things come to an end. It's good that we're not all stuck here forever. and that there are life cycles and that life is precious. And it is also tragic when we lose somebody, and grief is real, and we shouldn't avoid those emotions. But death definitely isn't what we think it is. Um, it's definitely a beautiful portal into something else.
I got all defensive. What do you mean by death? Why are you excited about death? I'm not excited, but just like, why are you leaning into that inquiry? Because it's the biggest unknown?
Yeah, it's just it's what came to mind in this moment, and it's like, okay, I guess we're going there. It's the biggest unknown, and it's it's like anything, just a word, but the word for me invokes a surrender into this moment, which also brings me beyond this moment into what starts to be a sense of the eternal, what starts to be a sense of the space of no time. And in there, I can be more of a channel, and I can step into places with others where we can make ourselves available to much bigger ideas, bigger opportunities, bigger things that want to come into this present moment.
That's really powerful, James. That's really powerful. And you, we've talked already in this interview where you really hammered on the fact of you liking freedom and you realizing that time is also just a construct. So, yeah, if time isn't as fixed as we thought it, if death isn't as fixed as we thought it, if like space, so that's really interesting. So, was there a moment where it dawned on you that this was gonna be your overarching now purpose for right this now? And did that come into you like, "Oh, I'm doing this"? Like, do you remember when that landed for you?
Um, Good question. Well, I think it's dawning on me in this moment. I can't say I've spoken about it exactly in this way before now, but I did have a powerful experience in 2012. I was 21, and it was a death experience. It was um, I won't say cliche, but this experience is similar to many who have had these near-death experiences, and it showed me very clearly that time isn't what I think of it is when I'm here, and a lot more is
Wait,
going
what
on.
happened? Wait, no, describe.
Your video is frozen. I want to make sure we're still connected.
Oh, we're connected. I just got so excited. Can you tell us exactly what happened where you were like, "Oh, wow, that was different with time?" Like, where you were like, "Time just broke?" Because I had that too just recently.
Mm.
The first I was like,
Yeah, time broke wide open for me. It's a long story. I could take days to tell it, but the cliff notes. Um, I was falling out of a tree, a swing to be more precise. It was a large swing, a big hand swing. My friends and I built in our backyard, hanging from a large tree, and I'd gotten very good at hitting the swing and running and jumping and swinging. And I was in gymnastics at the time. I was teaching parkour. But my favorite thing was becoming just hitting this giant trapeze thing. And it was a time when a dear friend of ours in our community was passing away from cancer, a terrible diagnosis that he got 3 months before. And we were with him on this journey, this beautiful community of friends who lived in this big hippie house together while I was in college, and just finishing my senior year. And it was the most profound and beautiful and loving and difficult experience I'd ever had, being with this group of souls as our friend John faced cancer and ultimately crossed over. and he had just passed away 3 days before. I ended up being the person responsible for assembling a video of his life from all the footage that he captured. And he was a traveler. He was a bit older than me. He was 26. He'd been around the world. He lived in a teepee while he was in school, and had all kinds of beautiful adventures and captured lots of video of it and pictures. And I was putting together something to view at his service. And I took a break to hit this swing with friends in the backyard that were watching. And I was really getting into the groove of it, getting really high. And I looked up at my hands at the apex of one of my swings, and I realized I had this ring on that I knew I shouldn't have had. I was in sculpture school at the time. It was like a piece of metal pipe that I cut off of something and would wear. And I would always take it off when I was holding the swing because it would get in the way of my grip. And I realized I had it on. And even though I was doing fine with it up until that point, this little bit of doubt slipped into my mind in that moment. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to hold on. But it was the worst possible moment because I was at the apex of this swing, maybe like 25 feet in the air, maybe even higher. And I'm practically upside down and backwards with no rotational momentum. So I knew I would have no way of getting my feet under me and doing a roll and breaking my fall. I knew I was going to fall like this and probably break my neck or my back and probably die or be paralyzed. And I knew that all I could do in that moment was surrender. And luckily, I was in this space of acceptance with my community and love and reading Tibetan Book of the Dead. And also, I happen to have been getting deep into meditation and going on retreats and things like that. And so I just let go after letting go. And time completely slowed and then stopped. And I remember the feeling of floating there in the warm air, surrounded by my friends, weightless, feeling the weight of my body and the particles of atmosphere around me. And then I experienced our friend John like come in and float over to me and take my hand and pull me up out of myself and out of my life. And I started traveling up this cosmic conveyor belt kind of thing through different layers of colors and densities. And I felt layers of myself falling away. And one of the first things I remember falling away was worry. And I was looking back at it and I was like, why did I ever worry about anything? Like, what was the point of that? That was weird. And I just got lighter and lighter and lighter and gone through this beautiful tunnel experience and ended up in this whole other world that I can barely describe. Even though I remember it vividly, it's probably my most vivid memory, and I still have very few words for it. It was absolutely bliss and beauty and love, and I got to spend what felt like a couple weeks of time in this space with my friend who had just passed, who felt like he had been there for years. He knew it well. He showed me around, and we explored and did certain things. And at some point, these beings said that I could go back. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll go back. I was totally content being there.
Blissed out.
But I was like, I can see my friends again. Like, I can go hug their bodies and come back into my body. And yeah, I'll do that. And then the process of going there kind of reversed. I'm told certain things on the way back in by these beings, and came back in, floated back towards the earth, back to where my body was. I was surprised to find it still floating in space where I left it. Time had not progressed at all. And then I felt like I was carried down to the surface of the earth slowly. And then time sped up right before I hit the ground. And I hit the ground as if I fell 3 feet and not 30 or however high I was. And I bounced up and I was on my feet, and I was so happy to see my friends again, and hugged them. And I knew I would not be able to communicate what had just happened to me, and all the experiences that I just had, and went back to my room to try to process it and integrate it. And that was a wild experience in itself, to sit with what had just happened and reconcile it with the memories of being on this plane. And one of the wildest aspects of that experience for me was I was finishing this year of art school that I had done, and all of the art that I had made that year, I was in sculpture, and they let me play with all kinds of mediums and do funky things. And everything that I had made seemed to illustrate this experience that I hadn't yet had better than I could have illustrated it if I sat down and tried to do so. So that's the gist of it. It was intense. I didn't really talk about it for years. I told a couple friends a few days after that, and a few more friends over the years. But just at the last Hollow Movement wave, I felt inspired to tell somebody, Mark Buckley, and he was like, "You should share this more. Don't be afraid to talk about it." So here I am, open book.
I love that. I love that. That seems to be what they say. Oh my gosh, Marina's here. Hold on one second. We're gonna pause
Sure.
for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, Marina. Hi. Okay, cool. I'm filming a podcast. Okay. So it's we treat time as such a staple. So to have missing time is very interesting, because it does make you question even the staple that is the ground, the thing that's so stable. But this goes back to what I was saying, is like, I don't even think we die. I mean, if you look at the movies that come out about, the afterlife and all the Coco or whatever, like, it's clear that this is an experience and that's an experience. And I've talked to one other person who's or a couple people, or there's books about this, about what we do on the other side. And I heard that's the same thing. They just hang out until they're ready to come back in.
Yeah. The Pixar movie Soul actually is funny enough, one of the most accurate depictions I've seen of the other side, albeit a fun version of it.
Right.
It was wild to see that come out.
So what has been the biggest struggle? Have you had any struggles where you're like, oh, I'm really doing this. I'm really making my life about the inquiry. I'm going to go into the unknown with people I love and do brave, bold, new things. You're so brave in your work and the way you think. Was it ever hard? Like, was there any struggle where you struggled?
Yeah. I mean, there's always struggle present. There's always more that I want to be doing, more than I want to be getting done, and capacities I want to grow in myself. Um, I feel really blessed that I've been able to work for myself my whole career and find wonderful clients to work with that appreciate my work. It's been a challenge as well, though, trusting that I'll be able to support myself. And now that I'm married, it's life is asking me to step into a whole new level of that as we plan our family and adventures together. I think that the biggest challenge for me always is reconciling my deep sense of the eternal and connection to the beyond with the everyday experience of being human and being here and needing to sleep and feed myself and have emotional experiences and make mistakes and not be perfect. And and the other side, if I'm going to call it that, feels perfect. But life is not. It's beautifully not, and no human is. We're all flawed. We all have room to grow, and things that we can do better. And my business has gone through many iterations and assemblages through the years, different intentions and focuses, generally working towards the same ends, but taking different approaches. And these days, it really feels like the technology we're using, the tools that we have at our disposal, the team that I have, the people that have joined me in this mission, and the opportunities that we're finding are aligning in this beautiful way that I've always dreamed of. So whatever's happening now, I feel really lucky, and I just want to keep surrendering into that.
Thank you for your courage to build your life around your convictions and your skills and your passions. And yeah, I can't wait to see the next level, because you're a very precious resource to visualizing the new world and how we can be and all and that. And we're so happy for your new family and your new wife. And that's so cool. You guys are thinking about having kids. That's a whole adventure. So yeah. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out and they're not exactly sure what they feel good doing?
Well, it would depend on the person, of course, but I would generally encourage them to get in touch with themselves, and then get in touch with themselves even deeper and keep pushing that edge, to really be with and sit with their mind, their body, and their spirit, and see if they can observe those things. What does it feel like to be in their body? I used to teach parkour, and to me it was more just a movement practice. I'd call parkour. It was less about what it would look like and more about getting in touch with what your body can do. Is it walking? Can you walk up the stairs? Can you walk up the stairs a little differently? Can you jump 3 feet? Can you jump 3.5 feet? Can you run up this thing really fast? Can you climb this tree? And really to come into your body, feel what it can do, and then push that edge. And I think it's the same in other domains of your life. What can you do creatively? What can you do emotionally? What can you do mentally and spiritually to get in touch with that? What have you always been good at that maybe you haven't contemplated enough? I've I do a lot of personal brands. I work with people on their brands and the offerings that they're developing. And we always look at their whole life, and there's always whatever they've ended up doing now. There's always been traces of it from the beginning. And there's always more to discover there and to examine. What have you been drawn to? Because life is this continuum. It's not a series of things that have led up to right now. There's forces that have led up to now, and there's things that are also pulling us in the future. And if we can get more in touch with those patterns and those forces, we can move towards what's pulling us and make ourselves more available to it.
Yeah. So, what effect do you think you've had, James, on the people around you by living your purpose in the way that you do?
Well, you'd have to ask them, but a friend told me the other day, she was reflecting on our time when I was in college, the time of my life that I told that story about. And she was sharing a gratitude for the confidence that I had, and I hope I still have, to be myself. And she said that at first she thought it was arrogance, like, is this guy just full of himself? But then she realized that he's just giving himself permission to be who he is. And most of us, including myself, often think we need to create these personas or fit into the world in a certain way. But I think being ADD, being dyslexic, being synesthetic, being a little different, having a dad who's blind, I never really had the chance to fit in. And so I've kind of always been unapologetically myself. And I hope that I've encouraged the people around me to do that as well, whatever it means for them, to not just conform to some idea of who we think we need to be.
Yeah, I support you being very confident, because I really haven't seen any other web designers with web engineers and programmers and creators and brand people, and all that encompasses, with such a high consciousness.
Mm.
I love how you threw out the screen. You're just like, no, it has to be different. This has to be rounder. It has to be connected. There has to be line. Like, we can't just do it in the box here. So your work is really so powerful, and it's really unique. I've never seen anyone quite like you, and I've been in this business for 15 years, web design creation.
Mm. Thank
So
you so
good.
much. Thank you.
Yeah. James, what would the world be like if the majority of people were living their purpose?
Great question. I can't wait to see it. It feels, it also feels like a very possible future. And I personally believe that all possible futures already exist in some real way. So that's the world that I want to live from already. I want to imagine that we already are all in touch with our purpose. And maybe in some way we are. Maybe our purpose includes not believing that we've found it yet. But a world in which we're all consciously in touch with our purpose, I think, would be heaven on earth, where we don't need to fight for resources. We have more than enough things here to all be happy and healthy and have a home and take care of our earth. I think that we would all be more gardeners on this planet, stewarding the natural world, stewarding the different great traditions and streams of culture and consciousness that deserve preservation and celebration. I think it would be a beautifully fun and diverse and powerful world. And, maybe it would be a world that's a planet that is a part of a bigger conversation than this planet. Maybe there's something this earth has to contribute to a greater cosmos in ways that we haven't yet discovered. I don't think that we're yet at a place where we're really able to do that as a planet. We're so focused on nations and conflict and securing things for our people against all else, whereas there's a lot of bigger things at play in our world that we don't yet understand, and things that we don't need to understand. And I feel like if we were all in touch with our purpose, it would mean being in harmony here together, and ease.
Yeah. I love that, harmony and ease. Sydney Bear has been talking to us a lot about a calm mind, peaceful heart, absolute wealth. And I love all that you're creating. And everybody who's listening, if you want to go check out his work on the Holo movement, infrastructure that's holding the whole movement, how we see each other, how we connect, who we are, what are our values, what are our needs, what are our gifts, what is our schedule. Holos.net.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Holos.holomovement.net.
Yeah. And then there you can get the archives of everything that happened at the Wave, all the musical performances, all the talks, Lynn McTaggart, Lynn Twist, you, James, talking, musical performance by, so many incredible people. Dom Kiana, Sarah O'Connor.
Yeah, it's Holos is just in its infancy. It's in beta right now, but we already have 300 folks on there, and it's evolving fast. So I'd love to invite participation in its evolution. Let us know what you feel it wants to be for you and your community and your groups of action. We're going to be launching courses on there soon. It's going to be a really rich space for learning and sharing about what we're learning, in addition to sharing about what we're building and what we're doing, and learning from each other about how to do it better and how to build it better. There's so much alive in this community, in these networks of people that are striving to make the world better in all kinds of different ways. And my goal for Holos is to make the technology get out of the way of the connection and the connectivity that's wanting to happen in that field, to just be a conduit for finding the others, and being together, sitting together in presence, and then like really building awesome stuff together, playgrounds and temples and spaces to see brighter futures.
Yeah, so at that Holos, you're going to be able to join the Purpose Lab in September. So whether that's Solar Journey, you just want to watch it on your own time, I'm going to be leading a whole Solar Journey with Adham, some of the concepts there. And then there can do the teams of 8 as well, search the archives, and just be matchmakes to the people that we've interviewed that can shed that light of like, hey, keep going. Because I'm also feeling really hopeful, James. And you can go check out his work in the show notes at Iris Cocreative.com. James, thank you for everything you do for the whole movement, and your welcome your new family and your new life, and may all your dreams come true.
Thank you so much. Deeply appreciate it. Also, James.today is my personal site, and a bit of a wider net of the things that I'm working on and want to put out there. So.
I'll be checking out that one.
Yeah.
Well, James.today.
Thank you, Zenka. This was great.
Thank you for joining us today. It is our goal to give you the courage to begin to identify your passion and live your purpose for the sake of yourself and for the sake of us all. Over the course of this multi-year collaboration and research project, we have identified patterns and a 7-stage process that many people go through on their way to living their purpose. If you'd like to browse our archive or figure out what stage you're in, head over to holomovement.net/purpose. If you would like to browse our living library of resources, or if you found your purpose and want to contribute what worked for you, head over to lightnet.org/purpose. And as Mark Twain used to say, the most important day of your life is the day you're born and the day you figure out why. You're not alone. We will look forward to helping you on this incredible journey. This has been a collaboration between Holo Movement, LightNet, and incredible people like yourself. Special thanks to Good of the Whole. We'll see you next time.